Welcome back to Vuln Vibes. Today, we're diving into a pretty critical WordPress security issue. It really highlights how things in the WordPress ecosystem can, well, interconnect in risky ways. We're looking at CVE 2025-3439. It's a high-severity flaw in the Everest Forms plugin.
That's right. And Everest Forms is, well, it's pretty popular. We're talking over 100,000 installations out there.
Wow, okay, so a big potential target base.
Exactly. And this vulnerability, it's got a CVSS score of 9.8. That's nearly maxed out. Serious stuff.
9.8, yeah. So what is the vulnerability, technically speaking?
It's a PHP object injection flaw. Specifically, it relates to how the plugin handles the field value parameter when forms are submitted.
Okay, PHP object injection. Break that down a bit. What does that mean for a site owner?
Well, essentially, it means the plugin isn't properly checking or sanitizing the data coming into that field value. So an attacker, crucially an unauthenticated attacker.
Meaning they don't need to be logged in.
Correct. No login required. They can craft specific input for that field, which contains a malicious PHP object. And the plugin, unfortunately, deserializes this input, basically unpacking and potentially activating that malicious object right within the website's database.
Okay, that sounds bad. Injecting code objects straight into the database without needing access.
It is bad. Now, here's an important nuance, though. Our analysis, and what the reports suggest, is that Everest Forms itself, it doesn't seem to contain what's called an internal POP chain.
A POP chain, right. That's like the sequence of existing code snippets an attacker hijacks to actually do something harmful after the initial injection, isn't it?
Exactly. Think of it as the instruction manual for the injected object. Everest Forms, on its own, might not provide that manual.
So wait, if there's no internal POP chain, is it still dangerous?
Yes, absolutely. And this is where the whole ecosystem risk comes into play. The danger skyrockets if that vulnerable Everest Forms plugin is installed on a site alongside another plugin or maybe a theme that does have a usable POP chain.
Ah, I see. So Everest Forms provides the unlock door, the injection vector, and some other plugin provides the tools, the POP chain, left lying around inside for the attacker to use.
That's a perfect analogy. The Everest Forms flaw becomes the entry point to trigger dangerous code gadgets present elsewhere on the same WordPress installation.
Okay, that makes the potential impact much clearer. So if that second piece, the POP chain, is available, what kind of damage are we talking about?
Potentially severe. It really depends on what capabilities that other POP chain offers. We could be looking at arbitrary file deletion.
Wiping parts of the site. Ouch.
Yep. Or retrieving sensitive data. Think configuration files, maybe user data if accessible.
Database secrets, API keys, all that sensitive stuff.
Potentially, yes. And the worst case scenario is often arbitrary code execution on the server itself.
Right, which basically means full site takeover. Game over.
Pretty much. If a suitable POP chain allows for code execution, the attacker could gain complete control.
So the 9.8 CVSS score really reflects that potential worst case scenario, dependent on the environment.
Correct. The severity hinges on the presence of that exploitable POP chain elsewhere.
Okay, this is critical stuff. What's the mitigation? What should people running Everest Forms do, like, right now?
Thankfully, the developers have responded. They've released version 3.1.2 of Everest Forms. This version specifically patches the vulnerability. It addresses how that field value is handled, preventing the PHP object injection.
So the message is clear. Update immediately. Go to your WordPress dashboard, check your Everest Forms version, and update to 3.1.2 or newer, ASAP.
Absolutely. Don't delay on this one. Given the potential severity and the unauthenticated nature, it's urgent.
This whole situation is, it's a really potent reminder, isn't it, about how WordPress sites are these complex systems built from many different parts.
It really is. A vulnerability in one plugin might seem contained, but its true risk can be amplified dramatically by other components installed on the same site. Supply chain risk, essentially, within the WordPress context.
Yeah, you can't just evaluate plugins in isolation anymore. You have to consider the whole environment. It really underscores the need for, well, not just updating, but maybe auditing what plugins and themes you actually need, reducing the attack surface.
That's a very good point. Minimalist approach, keeping things updated, and maybe using security tools that can help detect potentially vulnerable code chains.
So the key takeaway is patch Everest Forms immediately to 3.1.2. But also, maybe this prompts a broader look at your site's overall plugin and theme hygiene.
Definitely. And perhaps it leaves us with a question for our listeners. How are you currently assessing these kinds of interconnected risks in your own environments? It's something that requires ongoing vigilance.
A crucial question indeed. Keep those systems patched, folks. Thanks for tuning into Vuln Vibes.